Hi, this is Professor Evans again. This video is for COP 3330C, which is Object-Oriented Programming at Valencia College in Orlando, Florida. And this video is going to cover an introduction to web apps using Java and IntelliJ, as well as a few other frameworks. The learning outcome for this module is that students will design a simple web app and user interface. So this tutorial is going to go along with the other resources provided online. This programming project for this module is very specific. There are some specific tutorials provided, and you really do have to read through those step by step in order to complete your project. So I'm going to go over a few basic definitions for understanding the fundamentals of your project. First, what is a web app? You've all used web apps before. It's a software application that runs on a web server. And we use web apps all day long at this point. They are integrated into our lives. Web apps offer interactive and dynamic user experiences and typically use technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and back-end programming languages. If you're really interested in designing web apps, one of our electives within the BAS program is open source web technologies, and you'll spend the entire semester in that course designing your own web app and connecting it to a back-end database. So if web design is something that's interesting to you, consider taking that as one of your electives. So an example of a web app is Google Docs, which obviously most of you know what that is. It allows you to create, edit, and share documents online, real time, demonstrating how you can interactively and collaboratively use web applications. What is HTML? HTML is the standard markup language used for creating and structuring content on the web. So it defines your structure and your layout of a web document. It uses tags and attributes. If you've never written anything in HTML, some basic tags are things like caret HTML, caret head, body, H1, P, A, etc. They're used to create titles, headings, sections, font styles, etc. And it is the backbone of what you see when you look at a website on the internet. All right, so for this project, you are going to learn how to use Maven. Maven is an open source tool that is very popular within the software development world. It is a project management and comprehension tool. It's used primarily for Java projects, and it's based on this concept of the Project Object Model, or POM. When you go through the tutorial for this project, you'll see that you're going to have to create and update a POM.xml file, and that is the key document that Maven uses to manage a project's build, reporting, and documentation, all from a central piece of information. So in software development, Maven is commonly used for managing and building Java-based projects. It handles dependencies, it compiles source code, and it packages binary code using that POM file. And then another thing you're going to be using is Spring in your project for this module. Specifically, you're going to be using Spring Boot. The Spring framework is an open source application framework, and it is available on the Java platform. It handles the infrastructure of your web application, so developers can focus on application-specific business logic. So Spring is often used to create applications and microservices with features such as dependency injection and aspect-oriented programming. So, for example, you're going to be using Spring Boot for your project, and Spring Boot is useful for creating a REST API that interacts with a database. And while you're not going to interact with a database in this class, in your future classes in Dev 1, Dev 2, if you take the open source course, you will have to know how to create an API that can interface between a web app and the backend, the database. And so Spring Boot is a framework that allows you to do that. It's not the only option. There are plenty of frameworks out there that allow for a web app to interface with the backend. Spring Boot is just one of them. So you're just going to get a taste of one type of framework that you can use for these types of applications in your programming project for this module. So in this module, we're going to take a turn away from traditional Java concepts, and you're going to learn how to build your own simple web app and deploy it to a local server. I have a quick video that's going to show you the end result after you complete the tutorial that is provided online. So once you follow the tutorial, you'll have these 3 files that you've created and updated, as well as your template files in HTML, your POM file, because you're going to create this as a Maven project. And when you launch your application, you're going to connect to a local server. This is what you're going to see when it's running. And if everything works correctly, you're going to go to that local server and you're going to see your application running. You can enter in the ID number, a day, a month, and a year. And you'll see that message on the screen. Let's say that the user enters in incorrect month. You're going to have to add exception handling so that you let the user know, hey, you can't do that. Same thing with the day. Same thing with the year. You should be able to enter a message and then see the data that you entered on the screen. So that's a run through of what you will see as the end result of your project. Now, in this video, I'm actually not going to provide a step-by-step demo of this project for a couple of reasons. Reason number 1, some of the more trivial steps that you're going to need to go through to get this working are going to be different depending on what operating system you use in your network settings. For example, I cannot use server port 8080 because my Valencia computer does not give me admin rights to access that port. So I had to use a different port. You might not have to do that. So there are different steps you might have to take. They're small and trivial steps. The main points are going to stay the same, but because the intricate steps of getting this to work will change depending on your operating system and your network settings, I'm not going to run through everything. You're going to have to do some additional research depending on the computer you have to complete this assignment. So you are going to run into errors, but you're going to be able to figure those out. You're just going to have to research how to get it working for your machine. The next reason why I'm not going to do a step-by-step demo of this project is because a tutorial is provided online. There are a lot of detailed and intricate steps that are provided online. It walks you through what to do step by step. In your previous programming projects, you were given sort of an overarching idea and you had to figure out how to implement that. In this project, I'm giving you most of the steps. You just have to follow them and then figure out how to navigate any errors that might arise depending on your system. So you can complete this assignment by reading through each set of directions that are provided on Canvas and following along on your own computer. Another major reason I'm not giving a step-by-step demo of this project in this video is because real software developers can't rely on having a step-by-step demo for every task they're ever going to need to do. Whenever a software developer encounters a problem or a situation that they've never experienced before and they're going to have to figure out how to implement something, the first thing they're going to need to do is read the research of others, the documentation of others, and try to figure things out on their own. This is why every week I've made the statement that you're given documentation that you should read prior to watching the video, because that's a skill we want you to learn as future software developers. So this is your chance to now put that into practice. This is your time to figure out if you can follow a tutorial and then fix the errors when they arise. And you will run into errors. It's up to you to research them to find a solution. You can use Google, you can look into forums, but when something's not working, start researching, try to find someone else who had a similar problem with a similar setup and see what they did. This means you have to start the project early, or you may run into an issue that you can't solve before the assignment deadline. You're given 2 entire weeks to get this project working, or close to 2 weeks to get this project working, and late projects will not be accepted because that's more than enough time to navigate the issues that arise if you start early. So I will just give you a fair warning. Don't wait until the night before this is due, or you're probably not going to get it working. Lastly, the tutorial that you're going to get gives you a pretty plain layout, as you saw in the demo video, of what your web app will look like. If you want to go above and beyond to dive into the HTML and CSS, to create a design that's got some color, that's got some life, that's got some energy. If you have a design that's above and beyond, you will get extra credit on this project. So I realize this is a very short video and I didn't give you a lot of information on exactly what to do, but again, all of the directions for this programming project are provided on Canvas. Walk through them step by step, start early, take your time, research your errors to figure out what's going wrong, and then if you can't figure it out, email me with your questions and I'll help point you in the right direction. So thank you for watching, and until next time.